Good evening. We are again this Sunday evening with an interesting topic, which is the common cause of stress for my young and not so young friends. That is, how do we manage a tough and rough. Good evening, Professor Gupta. How do we manage a rough and tough attendance or the patient? Now, like we talk of any situation, we need to go in the details of the pathophysiology. Why does it happen? Given a choice, all surgeons, all hospitals and hospital administrators are looking for somebody who comes in Benz Mercedes in the lobby of the hospital, gives a big bundle of advance before treatment, says thank you to everybody, waves hi, thank you to all the nurses, doctors, paramedics, give a bunch of roses to the treating surgeons, and makes the balance payment on the counter and thanks to the cashier and walks off. We are looking for all this kind of patients, but in actual real life, it does not happen. So there are factors which we can control. There are factors which are modifiable risk factors. Pranam, Dr. Gupta. There are modifiable risk factors and there are non-modifiable factors. So let's look at when such a situation arises. Having had a very keen interest in this topic, I have surveyed and analyzed a lot of violent episodes in my life wherever I have been in contact with people. You see, nobody brings his father to the hospital with urinary retention to fight with the doctor. Nobody brings his wife for a lap cholecystectomy to abuse the doctor. We as surgeons are as much fault as the patient and attendants, because we give people a guarantee kind of a thing. I know of a senior surgeon who puts handbill in the paper and says bladder stone 12 घंटे में छुट्टी, किडनी स्टोन 24 घंटे में छुट्टी. Howsoever good surgeon you may be, howsoever good your equipment may be, a surgeon cannot control the physiology. The risk factors of the patient can be optimized but cannot be made nil. So this kind of guarantee on the healing time, guarantee on the expenses, guarantee on the life risk is the genesis to my mind of all these conflicts. I must share with you. This week in our unit, we happen to treat an elderly diabetic with wet gangrene of the foot. This gentleman has CAD, status bypass, followed by stenting, congenital eventration of the diaphragm, COPD, uncontrolled diabetes, and CKD. Now, beforehand, what is counseling required is, when I talk to such people, involve as many people. When I went for the consent, I called them in my office. Only one son was there. He said, do whatever you want. I said, no. Call all the relatives. Let all your brothers be here. Let your mother also be part of the consent program. So I came back again after half an hour, made them sit in the office and very coolly wrote on a piece of paper that your father has following problems. They were cash patients. That's another big issue, because in the bigger hospital the bill multiplies every day. So I told him, look, as far as foot amputation is concerned, the bill of the foot amputation is say 100 rupees. But how many days your father will require ICU for his heart, lung, kidney problem, I don't know. I tell every CKD patient, even the creatinine is 2.5 to begin with, I would say some of them will require dialysis post-op. Please offload your stress to the family. One guy has to be stressed, either the family or yourself. Most of us talk very pleasantly and say, thoda risk hai. Now, what is thoda risk? He doesn't understand what you are trying to say. Unfortunately, this gentleman had all the problems. He post-op had LVF, he had renal failure requiring dialysis, but fortunately, the amputation wound went well. So second post-op day, I said, now my job is over. Now you are transferred to the nephrology team. They will look after you. Since we had forewarned on all the things, we need to tell point blank, there are things in my control and there are things which are not under my control. Be empathetic. I would say, I will treat your father like my brother. Sometimes people ask, what is the guarantee? I said, sure, we offer a great guarantee. Then with a pause, I said, I guarantee we will use maximum of all the skill I have in my life. My team and me will look after to the best of effort. We will be there whenever you need. The surgery will go okay. About comorbidities, we will do all the effort to decrease the complications. But can I make it nil? No. Say forcefully no. You cannot control all the comorbidities. Then you should be in the current generation of Google following generation of patient population. I always, for all common diseases, I know which Google references are on the top 5. And the percentages which I am going to speak to them are exactly what is given in the Google, in the first 5 references. So I tell them, you open the Google in your phone, so let it open in his phone. And then I show him the first, second, third references. This is a good formula to learn, because if you say this patient's MACE score is 3 plus, he carries 15% risk of developing a major cardiac adverse event. And out of those who develop, 50% of them die perioperatively. So we need to be very blunt, we need to be honest, we need to have a mental consent, not that what the nurse writes on the page of paper. Nobody without understanding, people just sign. What is important is let the family try to find out who is the opinion maker in this family. Give them respect, offer empathy, tell them you are concerned about. I would say, I understand your apprehensions. I know how much you love your father. Tell me which of the joker on the attendant side will not like to hear from you that I know. Pranam, Professor Maheshwari. Welcome. So tell me which of the joker in the relatives side will not like to listen that I know you care for your father. I know how much you are bothered about him, but I am equally concerned for him to get well. Good evening, Professor Paul. So, we need to make clear all the risk factors to the family. Let us not take guarantee of expenses, more so in the bigger systems, and when the patient is not insured, we cannot take the financial responsibilities of the family. At the same time, we should be always cost effective. We should not order investigations under the name of routine investigations. Order tailor-cut investigations which will change the modality should be ordered. Always communicate. People in your office, never talk to an unsatisfied patient's family in corridors of the hospital. It will always create unpleasantness. Good evening, Dr. Jan. So, now identifying the risk factors, which patients are likely to be unsatisfied, rough and troubleshooters. One, which are sicker patients, people who are likely to die, people who are in HDUs, ICUs, who have a lot of expenses every day, people who are hemodynamically unstable, people who, from your viewpoint, scientifically are high risk, and people who are not improving as per the norms of recovery. Somebody following a mesh hernioplasty is having 103 temperature every day. That is where the family's concerns are more. People who are having prolonged paralytic ileus, people who have prolonged, vomiting. The patient is admitted for 5 days, you operated, he is still vomiting. So some of this kind of things which all of us know. So I would say, label in your unit every evening when we make rounds. It is good practice. It is a good practice at sunset to analyze which patients are not doing well. So we need some more additional attention on them. Number one, within the unit, discuss scientifically why this Mr. X is not doing well. And equally important, take the family in confidence. Tell them, look, your father is having fever and distension. We have ordered some tests and we are also taking our GI physicians for opinion and internal medicine. And together, by changing some treatment, we hope he will be well. Never give it time bound. Then the next question the family asks, when will he be well? Say, we are doing our best. It sometimes takes 2-3 days. I would never be dogmatic on time. I would say my normal patients take 2-3 days. I remember some of them having taken a time, a shade more. Use very calculative words. A shade more can be anything. It can be 1 day, it can be 1 week. So I'm repeating, the genesis of trouble creating patients is from people who are not recovering normally, or the prediction of recovery, the estimate of cost, and the details of risk factors were not informed mentally. Let me say, the consent is more mental. It is not that a complication has happened. More important is, was the family aware that such a complication can happen? If you made them understand that some percentage of gallbladder is required to be converted, some percentage of gallbladder carry a risk of bile duct injury. 10 to 15% patient of stapled hemorrhectomy will rebleed. The bleeding is more in stapled hemorrhectomy. The cure is more in open hemorrhectomy. Have a cafeteria approach. Put all the things in front of an educated family. Let them decide. When they say, doctor, what would you like to be done? Then you express your viewpoint. If you have a detailed informed consent, and this evening I would like to highlight, you must have a resolution of tactful rejection. Now I am coming to the factors of attendance. So far we have talked about the patient disease process. The attendant factors are, in my couple of previous lectures also, we have shared. There are certain professions like stinkingly rich businessmen, politicians, police, press, judiciary and related branches. They don't think anything should ever go wrong with them. And the law of nature is, the more VIP treatment you do for somebody, something must go wrong. The rarest of rare complication, your resident will remove a partially deflated balloon in him. Even if your surgery went well, this fellow have a trivial urethral trauma. I mean, the life is full of such stories. This morning only I wrote in response to a friend that I have around 200 stories, and I start writing a book as I put my gloves down in a couple of years. So that's just the future. But what is important is, do not bite what you cannot chew. That is another source. You may have worked in All India Institute. You may have been a consultant in PGI Chandigarh. Don't think now your nursing home is PGI Chandigarh or All India Institute. Agreed, you have the experience. But where do you have the critical care backup? Where is the lab as accurate at 2 a.m.? Where are the nurses? All these things are four wheels of a vehicle which make somebody move forward. So do not take patients sicker than what you can attend. If a complication has happened, be honest, explain the family, either invite an expert from outside or send the patient to an expert outside so that the best is being dealt. Until under rare circumstances, you happen to be the best to manage that complication. Do not wait till the patient deteriorates and the patient is breathing his last breaths, and then you say, take away this patient. That is the time when the problems happen. As soon as a complication is detected, talk to your friends, talk to your surgical uncles, involve people in the neighborhood. Every sick patient has had a family physician or an internist. Preferably involve him, that he comes and attends the patient. Make him a financial party. Let him visit twice a day. Listen to him what he says. Hence, the chances of a conflict are going to be less when their family physician or the old internist is part of the team treating the patient. I have always involved the same physician who has looked after his diabetes since years to be the perioperative physician. That takes away a lot of conflict. Now, what are the early signs you can pick up of an anticipated conflict in hospital industry? The relatives will talk in a louder voice. Their expressions will be full of anguish. They will stand like this in front of you. They will misbehave with your nurses and paramedics. Have an open system in your unit. If any patient is acting abnormal, your nurse, your paramedic should have access to the last man first. There should be a system that somebody informs the senior most person. It should not be routine that she talks to the nursing supervisor, she talks to your junior doctor, the junior doctor talks to your middle level, and the news reaches you after 24 hours till all the damage is done. I have had a very good secrecy system where the cafeteria, the canteen fellow will keep listening to all the people who sit and talk there. And he has informed a couple of times the family people talking, if something goes wrong, we will break the head of the doctor. If something goes wrong, we are not going to pay anything. When you get such an information, do not keep such an unsatisfied man in the unit. Try to verify the facts at your own level, and if you are convinced this can be a troubleshooter, at least for the district or smaller hospitals, shift it to a bigger center. In a corporate hospital also, when I find a pancreatitis, which is a bad pancreatitis, all good pancreatitis we treat ourselves. Pancreatitis with very high mortality, in the very beginning only we give it to GI friends. So let them enjoy, because number one, they are the ultimate authority. Nobody can challenge a death with a medical or surgical gastroenterologist, and we must understand our limitations. Those are the people who do the same job every day. Number two, their team is stronger and more geared than this. Number three, we are overworked. Why add more risk to your coronaries? Because, and it has happened. Well, many times my GI friends have told me, GD, whichever pancreatitis you give us, he dies. I said, I give them alive to you. This is up to you and the patient's good or bad luck. So, you have to be calculative. Even I calculate not to bite what I cannot chew. So I remind, once again I want to say, take cases which you can take up well, number one. Number two, about which you are an ultimate authority. Number three, which does not give you additional stress. So these are the early signs. And when you know something is going to have lot of mortality, lot of morbidity, and if you cannot manage it, it might well refer them very early on their arrivals, or involves all the other colleagues, so that number one, when lot of doctors are involved, chances of having a complication is decreased, or early pickup is increased. And if still something goes wrong, the family is always satisfied. Now, when a thing is happening like that, so what should be your approach? I will divide the approach into two halves. One, how to manage it within the unit. Two, how to have a respectful dispatch of that patient. So when you are managing, first important point is empathize with the patient and the family. Talk to them, talk sweetly, and offer them all the empathetic attitude. Show them your concern, love and trust. I always sit down, we take a stool or a chair and sit down next to the patient. Never say we are in hurry. One word which always irritates the patient, family and me too. Never say jaldi karo, jaldi leto, jaldi baitho. Patient is going to toilet, you say wapis aa jao. That shows your lack of concern for that patient. If patient is going to toilet, if patient is having breakfast, go to another bed first. Come back again. I have seen consultants, somebody was going to take his good breakfast and they suddenly said breakfast later, lie down on your left lateral, we are going to do a rectal. So there are ways how you communicate, how you empathize, how you give respect. If you say, good morning, Mr. Ram Narayan Sodhi, what would you like to be known as? He says, I like to be called Sodhi. So I say, okay, Mr. Sodhi, how are you doing today? So always introduce yourself. This morning I was telling my youngsters in my Sunday school that how you enter a room can also upset somebody. Always knock twice, give 30 seconds wait, then enter, say good morning, I am Dr. Sharma from Red Surgery, I am going to look after you. This morning your neurologist has called me for your perianal pain. May I know how did you have it? And then I sit down. I talk to the family, I talk to the patient. Your communication, you should be serious looking. You should not be attending to the phone. You should not be interrupted. So full empathy, full concern. When always remain calm, cool and collected, composed. Do not retaliate. Patient sometimes will talk tough. This formula I have shared earlier also. If somebody says, Doctor, it's 11 a.m. we are waiting for you since 8:30. You come so late. As you enter the room, with a smile say, I know I am late today. Once you said this, his whole energy is gone. His negative energy is charged into positive energy. Always start your opening dialogue. I understand, Mrs. Gupta, I'm late today, but, and then say, there was somebody dying sick to be operated. You may have overslept from your Sunday evening booze, but a doctor never oversleeps. A doctor never hosts a party. Doctor never enjoys life. He is always working. So at least pose yourself to be working. Do not take things personally. Let your emotions not be controlled by the attendants and the family. If somebody talks a rough word, just let it cross over your head. Because the patient is already frustrated, the hospital and court can frustrate any coolest person. So if he has said something, it is because of the circumstances he is speaking like that. Nothing personal to you. Try to form a connection with the family. Very easy. Somebody, elderly Siddharji was with me, and I simply asked, where are you from? He said, I'm from Delhi. Now I wanted to develop some connection. I said, oh well, before that, where are your parents from? He said, they're from Punjab. I just forwarded my hand. I said, I am also from Punjab. If somebody says I'm from Haryana, I said, I am also from Haryana. If some, what I'm trying to say, having some common connection starts an opening up, a concern. And if you can inculcate an art, if you start saying Sat Sri Akal to a Sadaji, Ram Ram to an elderly lady, and Salam Alaikum to a friend who likes this, that is a connection building technique. Well, I am absolutely non-religious person, but to build a better connection, if we wish him in his style, that forms a bond. Never argue with the patient. If somebody tells me, all my life I have controlled my diabetes with Ayurvedic treatment, there are two ways. One thing I said, oh, that's all bullshit. Stop all that. Let us talk scientific. The right approach would be, I agree with you. Some of the Ayurvedic drugs are very good. But Mr. Agarwal, as long as you are here for a gallbladder operation, let me manage your diabetes my way. After 2 weeks, when you are well and fit, whatever you like, you do. Do not, your dog doesn't like criticism. What to talk of an educated person who's paying huge bill in a corporate hospital? Set boundaries. Be realistic. Tell the family that at this age, your father can take 5 days. Some of my patients are taken 15 days. Keep your stress to the minimum level. All of us have unpleasant stress outside our work. It may be somebody fought with me on the road. It may be I have a domestic issue of stress. It may be my child is not doing well, or my neighbor has fought with me over parking. That does not mean that the patient who has entered in my OPD, after waiting for 2 hours, I fight with him. You cannot punish the landlord for the mistakes of tenant. Remember this in your life. And when you are finding the family is acting tough, the surgical problem is not improving, the drug bills are increasing, and you are not been able to find out why this patient has ileus after so many days. It is always okay to ask for help. And I will repeat, you must have surgical uncles in your career, because uncle has faced such situations 100 times more than you. His word would be final in your area. If he comes and keeps the hand in the belly and says, I think we need to reoperate this fellow, I will be there. I will take responsibility for your patient to get well. All your problems are over. Now, when we do not have a surgical uncle, things are getting tough for you. You think this patient is taking away your sleeps at night. During your OPD, you have constant interruptions again and again. This is the patient who should be referred out. When you are referring such people out, again, you need to have some friends in the higher institutions where your common patients go. When you start your practice, you must know where do the patients from your town likely to go. One corporate hospital, one government hospital, and by beg, borrow or steal formula, have some well-wishers in that system. Diwali is our official bribery day. In the name of Happy Diwali, keep all the concerned people well lubricated. There's nothing wrong. You make a lot of money, share with them, directly or indirectly. Nobody minds a good, tasteful gift. I am a very hard nut. I don't take gifts from people. But a couple of pharmaceutical people have given me some good atlases of surgery which I could not refuse. But I offered them a counter gift or a return gift, saying that you deserve this gift because you could find out what is my weakness. Right? So while you send such a patient, you must have an ambulance service on your pampered list, so that in your one call at 12 midnight also, that guy brings the ambulance along with a duty doctor, so that the patient can be transferred. Never travel in ambulance along with. If you have to, your own car with some kind of driver should be following the ambulance, because in case the patient dies on the way, you have some exit route to get out. Forget about the bills at this time. Never say there are no bills. If you say I am not going to charge, people assume that you did some mistake. You cut some intestine, that is why you are not taking bill. You are guilty. Always say I want your father to get well, your son to get well. Once you're back from the treatment at a higher institution, come back, we will settle the bill. Prepare the documents. I have seen doctors text up writing a referral slip in hurry and forget to mention all the finer details. If I have a sick patient which has 1% chance of referral, I will ask my junior to make a discharge slip in the referral slip in the morning only, and then get it checked from me. And at any time if the patient wants to go or we want to send, that slip should be ready. Do not do this last minute hurried game. Remember, in the court of law, whatever is not written is not done. Do not at some time negotiate even for an ambulance. I would say, for when I want to get rid of something, I would say, this ambulance is complimentary. This is our in-house ambulance. It may not be in-house. Nobody is going to ask. Pay the ambulance driver yourself. Tip him more, so that whenever you need, in a chilly winter at 12 midnight, if you need an ambulance, that fellow must come. Because he understands, if his normal charges are, good evening Dr. Sidhu, if his normal charges are 1200, you always pay him 1500. As a busy surgeon, 300,000-500,000 rupees makes no difference to me. Anything, friends, anything which money can buy, you must buy. At least your peace of mind. You will live longer, live happier, have more clientele. This is a very long topic. I have tried to summarize this. I would love to answer all your questions and queries. Thank you very much for being with me on Sunday evening. Have a nice week ahead. Okay.